My husband heard my dream. He laughed nonstop. The sound echoed off the high ceilings of our kitchen, a harsh, barking noise that seemed to suck all the air out of the room. Are you kidding me, Elena? He asked, wiping an actual tear of amusement from the corner of his eye. You? A business owner? Stick to organizing the pantry, babe. I didn't answer him. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, and I didn't try to defend the 50-page business plan sitting on the granite island between us. I simply picked up my binder, turned around, and closed the door to his home office. I walked upstairs, opened my computer, and started building my company that very night, without looking back. But to really understand the cold, calculating silence of that moment, you have to understand the 14 years of noise that came before it. I was 39 years old. For 14 years, I had been the invisible scaffolding holding up the monument that was Marcus Vance. We met in college when he was a struggling finance major, and I was top of my class in architectural design. But when he got accepted into a prestigious executive track program in Chicago, my career became the first casualty of our marriage. It made sense at the time. He had the earning potential. Someone needed to manage the cross-country moves, the networking dinners, the home renovations, and eventually, our 2 kids. For over a decade, I washed, starched, and ironed the very suits he wore to climb the corporate ladder. I hosted cocktail parties for his insufferable partners at our home in Lake Forest. I remembered his clients' birthdays. I packed his bags for the endless stream of strategy retreats in Miami and Austin. I built a flawless, beautiful life for him, so that he never had to worry about a single thing other than his own ambition. And he succeeded. By the time he was 42, Marcus was a senior vice president pulling in $380,000 a year, not including his year-end bonuses. We lived in a 4-bedroom colonial with a manicured lawn. We drove European cars. From the outside, we were the ultimate American success story. But inside, I was suffocating. I had spent my entire adult life making other people's lives beautiful, functional, and organized. I had a gift for spatial design, for transforming chaotic environments into havens of efficiency and peace. Over the years, I had quietly done custom closet builds and home office redesigns for a few wealthy friends, entirely for free, just to keep my skills sharp. They kept telling me I should charge for it. They kept telling me I could build an empire. So, for 6 months, in the quiet hours after the kids went to sleep, I drafted a business plan. I researched LLCs, supplier costs, marketing strategies, and profit margins. I created a comprehensive model for a luxury home organization and spatial design firm called Elena Vance Interiors. I didn't need much, just a $25,000 seed investment from our joint savings to cover initial licensing, a professional website, and the first round of premium materials for a showcase project. $25,000 out of an account that was supposed to have over $180,000 in it. A drop in the bucket for us. When I presented the binder to him that evening, my heart was pounding against my ribs. I was so proud. I was finally claiming a piece of my own potential. And he laughed. He didn't just laugh. He looked at me with a mixture of pity and condescension that made my skin crawl. He closed the binder without even opening the financial projections tab. Elena, you're bored, he said, taking a sip of his scotch. I get it. The kids are getting older. But dropping 25 grand on a little housewife hobby is ridiculous. Go join a tennis club. Or renovate the guest bathroom again. Leave the business to the adults. I sat in my car in our driveway for 20 minutes later that night, just staring at the steering wheel. The humiliation was a physical ache in my chest, but the humiliation was nothing compared to what I was about to discover. Because that night, sitting in the dark glow of my laptop screen, I decided that if he wouldn't give me the money, I would just take it. My name was on that joint savings account too. Half of it was legally mine. I opened a new browser tab, logged into our banking portal, and clicked on the high-yield savings account we had been building for 5 years. The screen loaded. I blinked. I refreshed the page. I rubbed my eyes, thinking the blue light was playing tricks on my vision. The balance wasn't $184,000. It was $14,250. The air rushed out of my lungs. My hands started to shake so violently I could barely keep my fingers on the trackpad. I clicked into the transaction history, page after page of wire transfers. $5,000 here, $12,000 there, $8,500 just 3 weeks ago. All of them going to an account registered to a business called Aura Aesthetics LLC. I didn't know what Aura Aesthetics was, but I knew Marcus hadn't mentioned a new investment. I opened the Illinois Secretary of State Business Search database. I typed in the LLC name. The registered agent popped up immediately, Vanessa Thorne. I knew that name. Vanessa was a 25-year-old junior marketing coordinator at Marcus's firm. I had met her at the company holiday party 6 months prior. I remembered her clearly. She had glossy dark hair, wore a dress that cost more than her monthly rent, and spent an uncomfortable amount of time laughing at Marcus's terrible jokes. My heart felt like it was going to beat its way out of my throat. I needed more. I remembered that Marcus used the same password for almost everything, a combination of our anniversary date and our old dog's name. It was a rookie mistake for a finance guy, but arrogance makes people sloppy. I went to his personal email. The password worked. I typed Vanessa into the search bar. Hundreds of emails flooded the screen. I didn't have to dig deep. The very first thread, dated 2 days ago, contained a forwarded invoice for a lease agreement on a commercial studio space in downtown Chicago. "Payment handled, baby," Marcus had replied. "Can't wait to see the new studio. You're going to crush it." I sat there in the dark, the blue light illuminating the tears that were finally spilling hot and fast down my cheeks. He wasn't just sleeping with her, he was funding her. He had drained our life savings, the money I had helped accumulate by managing our lives on a strict budget, the money meant for our children's college funds, the money meant for our future, to play sugar daddy to a 25-year-old's vanity project. He laughed at my dream because there was no money left for it. He called my meticulously researched business plan a housewife hobby, while pouring $170,000 of our family's money into a Medi-Spa startup for his mistress. And you want to know the worst part? The absolute most agonizing part of that discovery? It was the realization that my entire life was a subsidized lie. Every time he complained about work being stressful, he was with her. Every time he told me we needed to hold off on a family vacation to build our safety net, he was wiring her money. I closed the laptop. The tears stopped. The grief vanished, evaporating into something much colder, much harder, and infinitely more dangerous. I didn't confront him the next morning. When he came downstairs for coffee, I smiled. I poured his dark roast into his favorite ceramic mug. I asked him what time he thought he'd be home from his late strategy meeting. "Probably around 9, babe," he said, kissing my forehead. "Don't wait up." "I won't," I said, and I meant it. That morning, after dropping the kids at school, I drove to a pawn shop 3 towns over. I sold my engagement ring, a diamond tennis bracelet he had given me for our 10th anniversary, and 3 designer handbags. I walked out with $18,000 in cash. I drove to a local bank, opened a new business checking account under a newly registered LLC, Vance & Co. Spatial Design, and deposited every single dollar. Then I went to war. I hired Evelyn Shaw. Evelyn wasn't just a divorce attorney, she was a financial assassin. When I sat in her high-rise office and slid printouts of the wire transfers, the LLC documents, and the emails across her mahogany desk, she didn't show an ounce of pity. She just smiled a predatory, terrifying smile. "He's committed marital waste," Evelyn said, tapping a manicured fingernail against the documents. "He's embezzled joint funds. If you confront him now, he'll hide whatever is left. He'll gaslight you, and he'll drag this out for years." "We don't want to fight, Elena. We want an ambush." "What do? I asked. "You become the most boring, loving, oblivious wife on the planet," Evelyn instructed. "You give me time to hire a forensic accountant to trace every single dime he spent on her. And while I do that, you build your little business. Let him think you're distracted. Let him get comfortable. Comfortable men make mistakes." So I played the game. For 12 grueling, agonizing months, I lived a double life. By day, I was the dutiful wife. I cooked his favorite meals. I listened to him complain about his colleagues. I washed and ironed the shirts he wore to go see her. Every time he looked at his phone and smiled that secret, smug smile, I swallowed the bile rising in my throat and asked if he wanted more wine. But by night, from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m., I built my empire. I used the $18,000 to launch a hyper-targeted social media campaign and build a stunning portfolio website. I offered my services at a massive discount to 3 high-profile local influencers in exchange for them documenting my closet and home office redesigns on their platforms. The strategy exploded. Within 3 months, I was booked solid. Within 6 months, I had to hire 2 assistants and a project manager. Because I wasn't just organizing closets, I was executing structural, high-end spatial redesigns for luxury properties. I was charging $15,000 a project, then $30,000. I kept every dollar locked tight in my corporate accounts, completely legally separated from our marital assets thanks to Evelyn's ironclad structuring. Marcus didn't notice a thing. He was so wrapped up in Vanessa and in hiding his dwindling financial resources from me that he barely registered that I was suddenly gone on weekends or taking calls in the garden. He just assumed I was busy with my hobby. 9 months into my silent war, I landed the White Whale. A commercial real estate developer hired Vance & Co. to design the custom storage and spatial layouts for a new 30-unit luxury condominium building in downtown Chicago. The contract was worth $450,000. When I signed the paperwork, my hand didn't shake. I walked out of the developer's office, sat in my car, and looked at the contract. My company, the Housewife Hobby, was now projecting a 7-figure revenue for its first fiscal year. Meanwhile, Marcus was drowning. I had been quietly monitoring his financial panic. Vanessa's Medi Spa was hemorrhaging money. She had expensive taste and zero business acumen. To keep her afloat, Marcus had started taking out personal loans. He had maxed out 2 secret credit cards. The stress was eating him alive. His hair was thinning, he was snapping at the kids, and he was drinking heavily. "He's cornered," Evelyn told me over the phone one Tuesday afternoon. "The forensic accountant found everything. He spent exactly $214,500 on her in the last 18 months. He's leveraged against his future bonuses. The trap is completely set." "Good," I said, looking out the window of my new, leased commercial design studio. "Let's spring it." We chose the night of his firm's annual charity gala. It was the biggest event of his professional year, a massive black tie affair at the Drake Hotel. It was also an event where Vanessa would be present, playing the role of the innocent junior coordinator. I bought a $3,000 Carolina Herrera gown for the occasion, paid for in cash from my own earnings. When I walked down the stairs that evening, Marcus actually stopped in his tracks. "You look incredible," he said, adjusting his bow tie. "Did you buy that recently?" "Just a little treat," I smiled, sliding my arm through his, "for all my hard work." The gala was a sea of champagne, forced laughter, and clinking glasses. We sat at a VIP table near the front. 2 tables over, Vanessa was holding court with some of the younger associates. She looked stunning in a backless emerald dress, occasionally shooting covert, longing glances at my husband. After dinner, just before the speeches began, I leaned over to Marcus. The ballroom was buzzing with conversation. "I have a surprise for you," I said, keeping my voice low and sweet. He turned to me, raising an eyebrow. "Oh yeah? What is it?" I reached into my designer clutch and pulled out a thick, cream-colored envelope. It looked like an upscale invitation. I slid it across the white tablecloth. "Open it," I whispered. Marcus smiled, clearly expecting tickets to a game or a reservation at a Michelin-starred restaurant. He broke the wax seal and pulled out the thick stack of papers inside. I watched his eyes scan the first page. The smile didn't just fade, it shattered. All the blood drained from his face, leaving him looking like a corpse under the crystal chandeliers. What, what is this? He stammered, his voice cracking. Those are divorce papers, Marcus, I said, my voice as calm as a frozen lake. And attached to them is a 70-page forensic accounting report detailing the $214,500 you embezzled from our family to fund Vanessa's failing vanity project. He looked like he had been physically struck. He glanced wildly around the table, terrified someone had heard me. Elena, stop! Are you crazy? We are in public. This is a misunderstanding. I can explain. You're acting crazy, Elena? I mocked, mimicking the gaslighting tone he had used on me for years. Is that what you were going to say? Save it. Evelyn Shaw is my attorney. She's already filed a freeze on all remaining joint assets, and she's filed a motion for you to repay every single cent of the marital waste, plus interest, out of your half of the home equity. You can't do this, he hissed, his hands trembling as he tried to shove the papers back into the envelope. You don't have any money, Elena. You can't afford a lawyer like Evelyn Shaw. You're bluffing. I leaned in so close he could smell my unfamiliar, expensive perfume. That's the funniest part, Marcus, I whispered. You remember that housewife hobby you laughed at? The one you refused to fund with our money? It generated $1.2 million in revenue this year. I didn't just hire Evelyn Shaw, I paid her retainer in full. While you were going bankrupt playing pretend with a 25-year-old, I built an empire. His jaw actually dropped. His eyes darted from my face to the papers, to Vanessa across the room, and back to me. The reality of his absolute destruction was finally setting in. You knew, he choked out. For how long? Long enough to win, I said. I stood up from the table, smoothing the skirt of my gown. The people next to us were starting to stare. By the way, I added, looking down at him, Vanessa's lease on her studio? The landlord is a client of mine. Her rent is doubling next month. Good luck with that. I didn't wait for a response. I turned and walked out of the ballroom. I didn't look back at him. I didn't look at Vanessa. I just walked through the lobby of the Drake Hotel, out into the crisp Chicago night air, and signaled for the valet to bring my car. The aftermath was a bloodbath, exactly as Evelyn promised. Marcus tried to fight, but the forensic evidence was undeniable. When his firm found out he had been funneling money and company resources to a junior employee, they didn't just fire him, they blacklisted him. Vanessa, realizing the money had dried up and her sugar daddy was now a disgraced, unemployed middle-aged man, abandoned him and moved out of state within a month. Because of the extreme marital waste, the judge awarded me the house, primary physical custody of the kids, and 100% of my business assets, which had been shielded perfectly. Marcus was ordered to pay child support based on his previous earning capacity, leaving him scrambling to find consulting work just to stay out of contempt of court. Today, Marcus lives in a cramped one-bedroom apartment in a dreary suburb. He drives a 10-year-old sedan. As for me, I am sitting in the corner office of my own commercial building. I have 20 employees. I have full control over my life, my finances, and my future. My children are thriving, safe in the home I fought to protect. Sometimes I look back at that night in the kitchen. I think about the sound of his laughter, the sheer arrogance of a man who thought he held all the cards, simply because he held the bank passwords. He asked me if I was kidding. I wasn't kidding. And the punchline? The punchline is that I now make his peak annual salary every single quarter. He laughed at my dream, but my dream is what destroyed him.